Is a dealership jerking you around? Stand up for yourself. Here's how I did. Okay, so I want to share this sort of manufacturer slash dealership experience I had a few years ago. Some lessons might be learned from it, so I thought that they were worth sharing with you guys. Back in 2002, I leased a Subaru WRX, and this was the first year of the WRX in America. I ordered it well in advance. It was like a 4-month wait to get it, and I ordered it through an out-of-state dealership because they offered the best price for me. So I dealt with the sales guy over the phone and through email, and I just spelled out exactly what I wanted in terms of just the vehicle specs and the terms that I wanted. 36 months, no money down, pay the taxes up front, security deposit, registration fees, just all that stuff. So he quoted me a lease price, and then the terms based on the residual value of the car at the end of the lease, in case I wanted to buy it at the end of the lease. So I told the sales guy at the time, okay, here's all the payments I'm making through the term of this lease, the registration fees, the monthly payments, the taxes, everything. This is the number that I'm agreeing to over the life of the lease, and I'm not paying a penny more. So make sure you've got everything included in it. I'm all in. And I'm always upfront about this because it's not my first rodeo. I've dealt with dealers before, and they put in hidden charges and junk fees and all that stuff. We'll get to that in a second. So while the car's in production, I order a new set of wheels and tires and have them drop shipped to the dealer so they can install them when I pick up the car. No problem, they say, and when they hear I ordered a set of gold OZ rims, then they start getting excited, and then they're thinking about even possibly like doing some promotion with the car. Because it was like one of the first WRXs in America. So they're excited, I'm excited, we're all on the same page here. So 4 months later, I get a call, the car arrives, I drive out of state to pick it up. The guy who sold it to me, or leased it to me, the sales guy, he's not there, he's an hour late. So while I'm waiting for him, they're getting the car ready in the showroom, the wheels are on it, thing just looks gorgeous. Now remember, this is 2002, so like WRXs were like a huge deal back then. This is kind of a big deal. So the car's getting a lot of attention. So the sales guy shows up finally, we go into the manager's office to just handle the contract stuff. And if you've ever seen a lease contract, it's like this long, it's 6-point type, it's on both sides, it's just, a million words of lawyer speak and gibberish and all that good stuff. So, but I'm kind of the jerk that likes to read this stuff. So I tell the finance guy, I'm gonna need like a half hour to read through this. And he looks like, you gotta be kidding me, are you serious? Well, I read contracts. So after 20 or 30 minutes, I read through it, and it's all checking out except for a $300 termination fee at the end of the lease. And I say, well, what the hell is that? What's a termination fee? And they tell me, oh, well, basically it's just to recondition the car and just shuffle paperwork and get it fit for sale again and all that good stuff. I said, well, you do an inspection on the car for wear and tear before I return it, right? And they said, well, yeah, any excess wear and tear you'd pay for. I said, they already did that, right? And there was no excess wear and tear. Well, right. I said, then what's the termination fee for? Well, they hem and haw about it for a while, and they don't really have a good answer for me. So I tell them, hey, I hate to do this, but I got bad news, man. I'm not paying the fee. I mean, it's just a junk fee anyways. And besides, I was explicit over the phone and through emails. This is what I'm paying out the door, nothing else. So don't talk to me about a termination fee. Well, they said it's not really a dealer-initiated fee. It's from Subaru of America, and there's nothing they can do about it. I said, well, I'm going to need my wheels off the car because I'm not signing the contract. It's not what I agreed to. So at this point, the finance manager starts coming unglued. Now the manager of the dealership's getting involved, and I repeat the story to him, and he repeats to me the lack of power to do anything about it. And I said, hey, I'm happy to pay what I agreed to over the phone. That was the lease terms I agreed to. Otherwise, I need my wheels off the car. I'm going home. So, obviously I knew I had them by the balls. They weren't going to hassle me for $300. The car was already prepped and cleaned and ready. The wheels are on the car. The stamps and the paperwork were in my name. I knew it. They knew it. They knew I knew it. So like a half hour later, they come back and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll reduce your lease payments by $300 over 36 months and just amortize that difference over the lease period. And then you'll pay the termination fee at the end. I said, fine, 6 one, half dozen the other. Doesn't really matter to me. It's all the same. That's what I agreed to pay for over the phone. And so that's what we agreed to. And I took the car home, and it was great for 3 years. So rule number one, lesson number one, really, just read your contracts and stick to your guns. Now here's part two of this, and this is where it really gets good. As the lease comes to an end, Subaru of America calls me and says, hey, you've got to get the car inspected for wear and tear. No problem, my cars are immaculate, so I know it's going to pass with flying colors. So they come out a couple weeks later. They pretty much deem it the nicest 3-year-old WRX they've ever seen. They pass it. Then 2 weeks later after that, I make an appointment to schedule to return it at the dealership. Now, I don't have to take it to the original dealership I bought it from out of state. I can just take it down to the local place. So that's what I decided to do. So I arrive at the dealership, and again, it's not my first rodeo. I've been through this before, so I know what to look out for. So I go into the finance office and just sign some documents and show ID and do odometer statements and all that sort of thing. So then the dealer tells me, well, you owe $185 for a documentation fee. I said, what the hell is a documentation fee? Nobody told me anything about that when I signed the lease, and I was upfront about what I was paying for from the beginning to the end, from the time I take the car to the time I get rid of it. Well, they say, well, we charge everybody documentation fees, and it just covers paperwork that we have to shuffle and do it with the state BMV and all that stuff. And I'm trying to tell them, listen, man, documentation, that's just the cost of doing business, my friend. So, I mean, if you're charging extra for that, then you shouldn't be in business to begin with. So I asked the dealer, okay, when I give you the keys to the car and turn it in, it's no longer mine, right? And they said, well, yeah, of course. I said, then why am I obligated to cover charges on a car that it's no longer in my possession? Well, again, they hem and haw. They don't have a good answer either, just like the first dealership that gave me the lease. So I said, listen, Bubs, I'm not paying for junk fees for you to shuffle paperwork. That wasn't in my contract I signed. So, I don't know what to tell you. Now the dealer manager gets involved and the room's getting hot. I've already gone through this bullshit once with the first dealership. So my patience is running thin. Theirs probably is too. I said, is this a Subaru charge or is this a dealer charge? Because I ran into this problem, the first time. They said, well, it's a dealership charge. And then I said, okay, well, if it's a dealership charge, you can choose not to charge it, right? And I said, well, we can, but we're electing not to. Okay, so I asked the manager, I said, well, how can I get rid of these fees then? He says, well, there's really no way you can. We're requiring you to pay them, and we haven't waived them for anyone else, and we're not going to for you. Well, first of all, I couldn't care what anyone else does or what they pay for. Doesn't concern me. Whatever everyone else does, whatever they do to bend over to the man, so to speak, that's their business. I don't pay junk fees. That's my business. So the guy thinks he has me by the balls at this point, and so he thinks I'm running out of options. But here's where it gets good. I'm about to use the nuclear option. So I ask him, hey, what's the residual again on the car? He looks at the lease agreement and says it's like $14,200 or something. I said, okay, if I buy the car and outright, then there wouldn't be any paperwork, right? Because the car is going home with me. And he said, well, yeah, so. Well, I say so. So I pulled the register out of my back pocket and say, do you guys take a personal check? And that's when the room really got quiet. Not sure too many Subaru owners have pulled that one out of their back pocket before. But so I wrote the check. 5 minutes later, I drive the car home, no fees, bought and paid for. So the lesson here is, when you have leverage in negotiating, you just need to use it. And sometimes you got to go to DEFCON 1, okay? Know the value of your assets. I was checking used cars values on 2002 WRXs, and they were really strong, far better than Subaru anticipated on my lease. And that's one of the reasons I got the car to begin with. I knew, or at least I thought it would do better in the market than most thought. So even with the taxes I paid when I bought it at the dealership for the residual, I sold it a couple weeks later for like $17,500. So I made like $2,500 of my own equity I got back rather than giving it back to the dealership had I just dropped it off. So you're probably thinking, well, yeah, but that's almost what happened, right? I mean, had they not demanded you pay those termination fees, that's what would have happened. Well, no, because I'm not telling you this to brag about spending $14,000 out of my personal checking account. That is a huge metric butt ton of money, okay? I had planned this move for like 9 months and was like stockpiling cash and living lean. So the truth is, it was always gonna happen, okay? I had planned this before I had even walked in. The termination fee was sort of just my excuse to tell the dealership that, hey man, all customers aren't sheep and all negotiating leverage isn't what it seems. So I knew the value of my car, I knew what I owed, I knew the cost of money, and I knew I could flip it and get all my equity back in it rather than just give it back to the dealership. So the lesson here is just be an informed consumer. Okay, stand up for yourself. Negotiate hard but fair. Know the value of what you have, and then just hold others to that same contract that you signed, because they're spending millions of dollars on attorneys, you know, so they can write it in their favor. So they're signing it just like you're signing it, so never forget that. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If it sucked, well, just hit the like button anyway and just call me an asshole in the comments section. Speaking of comments, if you have any questions or anything you want to say, just start tapping the keys and I'll do my best to respond to them. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do that. Hit the subscribe button and join the Circle Jerk. Thanks for watching. Take care.